guys, welcome back on the channel. Today's video is again part of the army series, and we're going to talk about the Scottish forces of the Second Scottish Wars of Independence, and more specifically of Neville's Cross, where the Scottish were deploying and had similar units in all that period. The Scottish kept their initial deployment that was successful in the First Scottish Wars of Independence. Children formations, dismounted men-at-arms and knights, a formation from Robert de Bruce that really won the independence of Scotland, destroyed the English, because at that time the English were still fighting the typical way, as the French, mounted knights charging and some foot troops. The longbowmen were not utilized the way they should have been. But then we have Edward III, who really changed the way the English military, the English forces were deployed by creating mass units of archers, longbowmen, dismounting the men-at-arms, using limited mounted forces. And then all these forces, all this deployment was absolutely annihilated in all the major battles afterwards. The Chilterns were very slow and were very weak against longbows, and until the Scottish reached the English, they were basically almost destroyed. They were very strong forces, because we know that when they managed to reach hand-to-hand combat, they were very formidable, but the point was to reach. Now, you see, these are my Claymore castings and how I created and designed the armies. The children formations usually had, the knights in front, the well-armored nobles, as you can see, and then behind they have the spearmen. Now, this is not exactly historically accurate. I love Claymore castings, and I like having shields in all the spearmen of the Scottish, but they're a little bit more heavily armored, or they would have been all like those guys you see. There would have been really some who were less armored. There would have been more variety. I like it like this. It was part of my Claymore collection, and I like how they look. But historically, I can imagine, and from what I've read, the Chilterns, they were Scottish soldiers. They were not as well armored as you see. Not the foot knights and the men-at-arms and the high-ranking nobles. They were, they were armored exactly as their English counterparts. Obviously, they moved slower. How they deployed? They deployed with Chiltern formations and gaps between them, having some Scottish archers skirmish, or normal Scottish archers. Scottish archers was as good as the English. The difference was that they were obviously a lot less. So how you base them? I would base them, obviously, all the Chilterns, bases with all the spearmen together. But some bases divide them, a couple of foot knights and a couple of spearmen. So you can have them as front rank. So they can portray the front ranks of knights and men-at-arms who were protecting with their shields, with their better armor. They're protecting their lower, less well-armored spearmen. Now, for these wars, as you can see here, Robert II, for these wars, we have quite a few Scottish nobles, and I will mention a few so you can go and research them, and you can paint them if you want for your armies. So we have John Randolph, the 3rd Earl of Moray. We have the Earl of Carrick. We have, obviously, Lord Douglas. We have Fraser. The Fraser is with the red and white shield. You know all these nobles from the Outlaw King. You have the Earl of March. You have Stuart. Stuart is with a yellow shield, and he's basically the next king of Scotland. Then you have Vaux de Dirleton. Then another Stuart of Houston. You have the Crichton, if I pronounce him correct. Halliburton. Seward of Tibers. You have Ross. You have Lennox. You have Athol. You have Hamilton. You have Galloway, basically. This is with a white line and with a blue shield. And Sir James Scridgemore was the Constable of Dundee, the hereditary standard bearer. He was the standard bearer of the King of Scots, Sir James Scridgemore. I don't know how to pronounce the names, but you will see them down in the description of the video. So as you can see, it's beautiful armies, massed formation and deployment. Again, I'm telling you, it's not particularly historically accurate. I mean, there would have been units and many children members like this with shields, with good helms, everything. But most probably there would have been many less armored with just simple, coats and simple cloths or any kind of gumpensums. So a little bit of variety here would have given you a closer historical accuracy. But the foot knights, as you can see here, and I mentioned the foot knights were present in the specific battle, and they're mentioned description of the video below, would have been very well armored, not less than their English counterparts. Okay, maybe they were not as rich, although they have big estates in both sides of the border. They would be, as you can see here, in the front ranks, as I mentioned, and will be well armored. These armies are very beautiful. Scottish is one of my favorite armies. Here is Stuart, as you can see, with the Earl of March. They are difficult to command because they obviously are very weak against shooting. They would probably have to move here as the standard bearer of Robert II. Would have been you required to move them fast as soon as possible. Maybe have our skirmish archers in front to try to cover them. That's how they deployed also, with skirmish archers in the flanks of each children formation. But I think they're beautiful armies. They create a great effect of spears and shields, and they look like a rough army. And I think Claymore Castings, these are not Scottish in particular, obviously. They are the period of the early part of the 100 Years' War. They could have been Flemish. I think they're Flemish. I think the miniatures are originally for Flemish, for the spears. Not all, but some. But I think it's a different army because, the English knights, the English army and the French army were almost, very similar knights. Obviously, this army as well. The English have the longbowmen, the French have the mounted and more of men-at-arms. But the Scots have a little bit, of, I would say, charm with them. I love how they look. You have some really beautiful coat of arms, and you can again mix and match them, and as I said, put nobles and men-at-arms together with this children. Look at the face of this spearman, how formidable he looks, waiting to attack the English. This one as well. Beautiful Claymore Castings. They would have been really there is a nice combination, as I said, mix and match their knights, their men-at-arms, and some spearmen for the front ranks, and then in the other ranks you have only spearmen, and obviously they will have the banners. They will be like a medieval army, but a little bit different, a little bit more heavy infantry orientated. So I think I gave you a good explanation, guys, of how a Scottish army for the Second Scottish Wars of Independence will look. Try to have, obviously, as I said, majority of spearmen and lower-ranking troops. Try and mix them a little bit more than I did, use from other manufacturers or for less armored. The knights in front would have been very well armored, all the famous knights I mentioned you before, and they would be fighting the front ranks. The idea is, but with their shields and better armor, protecting the less armored spearmen. And I think there are quite a few rules who portray this, like Swordpoint, for example. They have this type of formation of men-at-arms and foot knights in front of the spear, and the spearmen in the back. So this is for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Very soon we're starting our campaign, Baron's War campaign, using Midgard rules and death and taxes. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend, and bye-bye. See you soon.